ABG on the road to determine future. Wabag District opening rural connection. And former premier laid to rest in Okapa.
This is National MTV News with Shamaine Poriambep.
Welcome, this is Sunday's news. As the autonomous region of Bougainville moves forward post-referendum, focus now will be on joint consultations with the national government to determine the region's future. This is seen as a key priority for President Ismail Toroama as they prepare for the ratification of the 98% referendum vote.
In the post-referendum period, Bougainville's independence aspiration will center on joint consultations with the national government. And President Ismail Toroama says the joint consultations will give hope to all Bougainvilleans to see this process is followed through under the Bougainville Peace Agreement.
First consultation, but we put in timeline long ratification. One time, Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea. People must bring him come inside on first consultation, so that I'm by giving you hope of some national government and by ratifying outcome long consultation, outcome long 98%.
Under the peace agreement, the ratification by the national government will decide Bougainville's political future. This will take into consideration the results of the 2019 referendum, which saw over 97% voted for political independence. This will follow through a legal and credible process, which is also the focus of the 4th House of Representatives under President Toroama.
Walk about the 4th House. We are no longer dreamers of independence, but we are the real implementers of independence. You vote, now you proclaim it. Time you vote, you talk out also. And me stop, yeah? But me had him government. When my government is short, but me come inside.
With the first joint consultation scheduled in Okapa later this month, all constituencies in Bougainville are continuing the rollout of the Independence Ready mission. This will enable the region to be socio-economic independent as it prepares for the joint consultation process. Stanley Over Jr., National MTV News.
Information and Communication Technology Minister Timothy Masiu says people deserve to be informed of happenings in the country. Masiu says it is important to keep people updated with vital information. The district has a newsletter called the Southern Star.
The Southern Star newsletter contains information focusing on the affairs of the South Bougainville electorate. Local MP and Minister for ICT Timothy Masiu says information is vital for people to keep them updated with the current happenings surrounding developments.
It's part of our vision to actually educate our people in terms of what is happening in the district. We feel that information is very important.
The newsletter or newspaper published every 2 months is an initiative of the South Bougainville District Development Authority. The publication began in 2016 as a means of getting much needed information across to people in the district. The DDA has recently set up a local radio station as part of its vision to educate and inform rural people living in the remote parts of the district.
We have also assisted the radio setup, New Dawn FM. It's actually been heard in South Bougainville. And it's part of the whole thinking of giving the people the information they deserve to know. They deserve to have this information because for too long the people have been left out in the dark. They don't know what leadership is doing. So in order for us to get close to the people is to talk to them through this magazine or through this newsletter and of course through the radio service.
As the minister responsible for information and communication technology, Mr. Masiu says Southern Star newspaper will also be used as an instrument under the ICT sector to notify the public of what the ministry is doing in the country. The newsletter currently has 8 pages and Minister Masiu plans to expand it to 12 pages as contents begin to increase.
As member for South Bougainville, I want my people to understand what I'm doing, to know what I'm doing, to see what I'm doing. And this newspaper now we've extended it to the ministry as well.
Suli, National MTV News.
In 3 years, the Wabag District has built several roads connecting people in various parts of the district. Some are shortcuts, giving people in hard-to-reach areas access to the main road. But the most important has been the road to the Maramuni area on the border of East Sepik Province.
The Wabag District began building this 60-kilometer road in 2018. It is one of the biggest projects so far, connecting the district's most isolated region of Maramuni on the Enga East Sepik border. 60 kilometers may not seem like a long distance, but the road builders had to cut a pilot track through very difficult terrain with just 2 machines in the initial stages. Wabag MP Dr. Lino Tom says the district had to buy its own machines in order to slash costs, allowing much of the funds to go to the actual road building.
What I've realized from this experience is that, if we can strategically use the limited resources that we have, we can make a lot of difference. Like Maramuni, for example. Maramuni has a lot of gold deposits. Now, in a time when our country is actually experiencing a financial downturn, I think those are the things that we need to do. We need to put the lesser resources that we have, the limited resources that we have, in areas that will actually count for the nation. So for me, I'm excited because with the road reaching Maramuni, it will open a lot of opportunities for the people in that they can help themselves. I've already organized about 10 alluvial mining licenses for the people so they can start getting resource like the gold from their ground and start improving their own lives.
Only when you get on a chopper, you get to see the difficult terrain the workers have had to go through. The camps shift as the work progresses. The fuel is trucked every week from Wabag, and there's an ever-present threat of disruption by local tribal conflicts. Behind me is thick jungle, and several kilometers that way is the East Sepik Province, and the people, close to 12,000 of them, have lived here for generations without a road connecting to their villages. And now, within 6 months, this road will connect to the nearest government station. This is the last part of the construction. The administration is also confronted with landowner complaints, bad weather, and a very tight schedule. They've secured funding from the ADB to build a new health center at the government station, and one of the ADB's requirements is a road connection. If the construction falls behind schedule, Wabag District won't get that funding.
People are realizing that the government can actually they're realizing the importance of government. They realize that when you have good leadership, you can realize changes. And people themselves are actually seeing, like, for example, in Maramuni, it takes them about a week to actually walk to and fro from Maramuni. Now they can just jump on a PMV vehicle, come here, and then just takes them a couple of hours to get to their villages. Now they're realizing that, when government starts doing work in terms of the basic services, it can have the impact, a big impact in the lives of the people. So
the road connection has since reduced the cost of goods and services in Maramuni, and those costs are expected to drop further when economic activity picks up. Scott Waide, National EMTV News, Wabag.
Former Eastern Highlands Governor Aita Ivarato has been laid to rest. The casket of late Ivarato was flown from the Eastern Highlands capital to Okapa. Prior to that, the Provincial Assembly hosted a special sitting to farewell late Ivarato and another former Governor, Malcolm Smith Keller. Both leaders passed on last month.
On April 30th, the casket of late Aita Ivarato was brought out of the funeral home to attend to a special assembly meeting by the Eastern Highlands Provincial Government. This was to pay respects to both late Malcolm Smith Keller and Aita Ivarato. This significant event was carried out under strict COVID protocols. The state funeral began with a word of prayer, then speeches from the Assembly Chair and members of the Assembly. Ungaibena MP Benny Allen, who has served and worked with both Ivarato and Keller, says both men had played a huge role to see a functional government to serve the people.
I'm trying to reform public service machinery. Public servants at that time, I'm looking, work, service delivery, go down over there. So I'm going inside the office here. More the time by total public service machinery. Kirap, work so.
Me like makim look silo this land to 10 kilo people is knowledge lo. Give the minute lem till the time. People block up is the first time me making plan to go set him this la president. This la milestone. And put him on the blahab and blahugemo semo and make him and blatu can make him.
Late Malcolm Smith was laid to rest in a private funeral service at the Pacific Gardens. The late Ivarato was flown to Okapa Station. Governor Peter Numu accompanied Ivarato's casket as hundreds await to witness the burial service. Again, under COVID protocols, late Ivarato was escorted with the CS Pipes and Drums band. Speaking there, Governor Numu valued the late leader's sacrifice for the province.
Sampla ba yumi talk, lo one ting blow yumi ba yumi talk all same. No, I'm start. Remember, me one bla money, I'm not looking me. Or me two bla money, I'm not looking me. All this like I talk, I'm blow one. But lo country na long province and two bla all in province is stop now me bla come up with some leader na me bla stop all same. So me bla give him high respect lo two bla lo big bla holistic approach.
Following a short ceremony, late Ivarato was laid to rest. He was the first local leader to be elected as premier after beating Barry Holloway in the elections. Ivarato served for 2 consecutive terms as governor for Eastern Highlands. Jack Lopava Jr., National EMTV News.
People of Mosby South will soon access a fully serviced hospital. Mosby South MP Justin Chichenko says this district hospital is built to health standards after years of planning and approvals. About 8 million kina was jointly funded by the Mosby South District Authority and Office of the NCD Governor.
With health a priority for the Mosby South people, the district hospital is currently an ongoing project. The local MP says the electorate's population is rapidly climbing and this new health facility will help serve the people. Chachenko says a significant sum of funding is invested in this project.
For nearly 8 million kina. It will have an 8-bed maternity ward, 10-bed outpatient, dentist, x-ray facility, pharmacy, and other services, antenatal and so on.
Staff housing to be built includes 2 doctors' residence and a 8-room dormitory for full-time nurses. The local MP says construction is hoped to finish in early March or April next year. Chachenko says the hospital will have all the necessary health services.
The fit-out will take the longest because we're going to install oxygen, we're going to install all the proper medical equipments and facilities to make it a proper hospital. So that will be the last thing. Will take a little bit of time to make sure that it's professionally installed with all the right medical equipment and facilities.
The Mosby South electorate has recently invested a lot in the health sector. The local MP says though challenges remain, a collective effort in decision must be held and health is one sector significant funding is allocated to for service delivery.
It's been professionally designed and approved by NCD Health and the Health Department. It's taken nearly 3 to 4 years, nearly 4 years now to get to this stage, going through all the different approvals to make sure it's compliant.
Jack Lopava Jr., National EMTV News.
A team from the Hotel Century visited the Female Division Prison Unit on Thursday to celebrate Mother's Day with them. It was small but significant celebration. Senior Inspector of the Female Wing, Agnes Kunjil, says this gesture gives hope to the detainees.
The team from the Sanctuary Hotel, led by team leader and HR of the Sanctuary Hotel, Josephine Boino, brought a Mother's Day cake, drinks, and other food items to have this small but significant celebration with the female wing detainees. The team had a short devotion and shared a little on the importance of being a mother, with more encouragement to the women before sharing the meal with them. The inspector of the female division, Agnes Kunjil, says they were not expecting any visitors this Mother's Day because of the lockdown and were so happy to have the team from Sanctuary with them.
all staff, no only thing. You get some visits, also come to Mother's Day. I visit them all. But like now, I'm COVID-19, so got some line come all, no look forward long online to buy come. But now that Hotel Century, I'm two all savvy or some lockdown, but only got big heart long all Mary. That's why I will come today long. Karim Kegi come, na Karim Lili Kaya come, na visit them all, na make them all feel what's them. There's still someone out there. Only concern long all, only love him all.
Inspector Agnes says most of these women do not receive visitors, and especially with the COVID-19 lockdown and protocols in place, which has restricted the number of hours and visitors to come through. This visit gives them a sense of knowing that people care about them and are willing to take their time out to visit.
When we came, we kind of did a connection with them. Like we felt that they needed attention. They were kind of left out on their own and all that. So
the team from Hotel Sanctuary have been doing monthly visits to the female division to help the detainees through encouragement and also assisting them with toiletries and so forth.
I'm first time, only come plenty time long help him all. So only got all program on them all very low bunnies. So them all being some program long all even lockdown start but only come yet. So I give him some like a good plan. Thinking all very now.
I mean, yeah, it kind of fits. We feel overjoyed or like Amamas Lord. It's like just to come and see them smile. We have problems, but when we come here, they have much more bigger problems. Like they are missing out on their family, and they don't see their family, and they miss out on seeing their children.
The team also assists those who have been released, like helping them secure a job or providing one for them. So far, they have employed one of the detainees they have come to know through their monthly visit. Gertrude Gabin, National MTV News.
You're watching National MTV News. After the break, we bring you this week's A Closer Look. Welcome back to the news. Yesterday morning, the barricade put up at the Lalomanu Psychiatric Hospital was removed and the CEO was able to access her office. This comes after some staff of Lalomanu Psychiatric Hospital barricaded the office of the hospital's chief executive officer on Tuesday morning upon claims of her suspension. However, the situation is far from being resolved. The Lalomanu staff and mental health fraternity are now calling on the health minister and the health secretary to clarify this administration issue. In this Sunday's A Closer Look, we look at the administrative blunder and unanswered questions that has caused confusion and unrest at PNG's only psychiatric institution.
Yesterday, the barricade set up by some staff at the Lalomanu Psychiatric Hospital was taken down, and the hospital chief executive officer, Dr. Losovati Dagunu IC, was able to access her office again.
Now, you may stop in law here and just allow for what you are requesting by Kama.
This follows claims that the CEO is currently under suspension and should not be operating in her office.
And so we have these two instruments that was signed by the secretary, by the minister, to be executed by the secretary. Both these are before us. And both are titled, one is the investigation into Lalomanu Psychiatric Hospital on abuse of administrative process and abuse of office. Secondly, suspension of the Lalomanu Psychiatric Hospital CEO. But since then, the CEO remained defiant. She refused to vacate office, stating that she can only be removed by the board of the Mental Health Directorate, which was the body that appointed her in the first place.
These claims came about when a letter from the Ministry of Health, signed by the Health Minister Jelta Wong, was sent to the current CEO on the 18th of March advising her of her suspension. However, 7 days later, another letter from the Health Minister was sent to the Health Secretary, Dr. Osborne Leko, subject with direction to withdraw the letter of suspension on Lalomanu Hospital CEO. The health minister clearly advising the health secretary that this incident and others in the recent past raised serious competency issues on the National Department of Health internal processes. Due to this second letter, Dr. Dauguno IC was reinstated as per the minister's advice. But this did not go down well with other members of the mental health fraternity.
Went on to charging us and then went on to suspending us, all the while being suspended herself. We sought legal advice from the department. The department legal advice was that our suspension was null and void because she's suspended herself.
Looking at their performance and the behaviors, they closed the gates of the government agencies, disrupting the government services. That is one reason. Another reason is they damaged the state property by punctured the 4 tires of the government vehicle that I'm using to carry out my duties every day. And these are criminal offenses. So disciplinary actions have to be served. I mean, suspension has to, and that's by means of suspension.
As advised by the Department of Personnel Management, due to pre-existing behavioral conduct from staff, Dr. Dauguno IC needed to suspend officers.
So unfortunately, the 9 staff that I have suspended have breached Code of Conduct and Ethics according to General Orders and Public Service Management Provision. And so with the guidance from the DPM, Department of Personnel Management, it's only rightful for the head of agency to issue suspension notices, and that's what I did.
When the officers received their letters of suspension, they set up a barricade and demands were made since Tuesday.
And so we decided that before she locks us out, we might as well lock her out. And that's exactly what we did.
Director of Corporate Services, Kuso Paru, states that the Mental Health Act 2015 is flawed.
We had to see opposition out in the open market, where it should have gone through DPM and gone through the normal process of appointment of departmental heads. That's right. That's where we started to petition the minister to revoke the appointment and to repeal the mental health legislation because it's flawed. The section that they used to appoint her was flawed.
The Mental Health Act 2015 was passed in Parliament and approved by the National Executive Council. It provides a platform for a directorate to be established in which the Directorate of Social Change and Mental Health Services legally exists and now comes under the Health Ministry and operates independently. This act also ensures that Laloki Psychiatric Hospital has a board. Dr. Dauguno IC says she was appointed legally and went through the normal processes of becoming the CEO.
Actually, everything was in, according to normal recruitment and selection process. Yeah, and with us, with the board being there now that we have the Mental Health Act in place, and with the board being the governing body for the Lalaloki Hospital, that is the only authorized body that needs to make the final decision of who the CEO, appointment of the CEO. And that's how my appointment came about.
Directorate of Social Change and Mental Health Services Chairman, Cardinal Sir John Ribat, told MTV News that there are proper processes to follow if staff have complaints.
In a proper way. Come to this. If they are dissatisfied, okay, take it to court, and even approach the highest authority to be able to discuss this matter here, and not to be able to resort to the kind of activities that is going on now. For me, this is not the best way to do it, and we are already suffering. People are suffering, and to be able to impose this on top of them again is really denying those who have come to seek treatment, to seek care, and to seek help.
The Mental Health Fraternity, Laloki staff, and the PNG Nurses Association are calling on the Health Minister and the Health Secretary to deal with this issue. This is so the psychiatric institution's service goes on undisrupted and those who need the service can get help.
And whether this is the attitude and the behavior of doctors doing things like this, for me, this is not right. And this is questioning the person who's doing this. I think we should be able to approach things in a better way. And the way is, if this needs to be taken to court, okay, take it to court. Or approach the highest authority in the National Health Department. And I think that's the best way to approach this, rather than doing and resorting to activities that are happening like this.
Requesting the Secretary, the Minister, the Board of Directors to make a decision on the position of the CEO.
I am calling on the Secretary and Health Minister to come and fix the issue at Lalokhi. Health Secretary is issuing different directives. Health Minister is issuing another different, and they are contradicting each other. They'll have to come and go get those directives as one, and it will make a clear path forward for the operations of Lalokhi.
The Health Minister, Jelta Wong, and Health Secretary, Dr. Osborne Liko, are both aware of this issue and are yet to respond. National MTV News continues with more stories after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news. Former Deputy Police Commissioner Operations Fred Yakasa has indicated that they will file a court application this week to dismiss the Police Commissioner's appeal before the Supreme Court. This follows the National Executive Council's decision to revoke the 1976 Gazette that abolished the Department of Police and the Office of the Secretary of Police.
Commander here.
Former Acting Police Commissioner Fred Yakasa said they will be making an application in court to dismiss Police Commissioner David Manning's appeal currently before the Supreme Court. Manning is appealing the National Court decision that found that he was not eligible for the top police post as he did not have the tertiary qualifications to occupy both positions, especially the Secretary of Police. Yakasa questioned why the rush in revoking the Gazette when the matter is still before the court.
In this Gazette, the latest Gazette, if they have abolished the Department of Police, that also renders him as Commissioner of Police unlawful. And his current stay is technically deemed unlawful by effect of that Gazette as Commissioner of Police. You can't separate the two.
His former colleague, suspended ACP Human Resource Sylvester Kalaut, shares the same view, saying the NEC action arises to contempt of court.
With the NEC decision now, the appeal will serve no purpose, no useful purpose or no utility, because the issues that are before the court have now been addressed by the gazettal notice. And it's a knee-jerk reaction by NEC and the Governor General to make such a decision at this point in time when the matter is before the court. It would be advisable for them after the court ruling, after the appeal case is over, then nothing stopping the government, as it is their prerogative to make changes and what have you. But at this point in time, to me as a first respondent in the appeal matter, I think it's an act that amounts to contempt of court and disrespect to the court, and it was done to defeat the cause of justice.
Yakasa believes that the NEC decision did not consider public servants that are currently working under the Department of Police.
The more, like I said, abolishing the Secretary of the Department of Police has very serious ramifications. In the police force, you have about 500 plus public servants, civil servants. And the reporting lines is through the Secretary for the Department of Police, which is also the Commissioner of Police. Right now, when you take this away, effectively, technically, all those public servants are made redundant. The two very important sections that these public servants work in to ensure the heartbeat of the police force is running is the accounts division and the staff salary section. And technically, as we speak now, they have nobody to report to.
He appeals to the NEC to revoke the decision. He said law and order in the country is getting out of hand because police are not effectively performing their duties. Yakasa blames the lack of experience by the head of police that is losing control and therefore not enforcing order within the police ranks.
Is this aimed at improving the police force as it is now? It's going on a downward trend. The discipline issues are at the highest level than ever before. The prudent management of the organization is in shambles. So is this about correcting those things, or is it about saving some personal vendetta for that reason? Now, he needs to come out, the government needs to come out very, very clearly as to why they are doing this. And I'm appealing to them to come out and tell the world, tell the country, tell the members of the police force, the civilians and the uniform members, as to how this is going to actually affect the overall function of the police force. What I see as a very experienced officer is that there's a lot of negative ramifications of this decision.
Archiving is the key to the work of the National Cultural Commission and its cultural institutions. Tourism Minister Isil Henry Leonard made the statement as he officiated the opening of the Commission's archives and library. This new building will boost the work of the Commission through preserving, promoting and safeguarding PNG's culture.
The National Cultural Commission now has a building in which they can archive and store cultural history they have recorded since its establishment. Commission Executive Director Stephen Kilanda says, even though funding is a challenge, NCC is trying their best to do something to progress the work of culture preservation and promotion.
So we feel that it's important that we come up with a library and archive so that we can get the documentary, we can write articles about them so that we can keep those information in archives and we can keep those information in our library. So we have to start our library first so that we've already started rolling down all the cultural activities down in the rural areas.
The National Cultural Commission over the years has been moved from place to place, and in the process many important documents have gotten lost or misplaced. The legacy of NCC is deteriorating because this history is lost. But now with a building to safeguard those documents, the work can safely progress.
Would very likely serve as a good prototype to other organizations that also have important records that need to be preserved now. For
library and archives, record-keeping culture is a sleeping giant in which Papua New Guinea can generate a lot of money in there. That's where we are lacking a lot in most cases.
Archiving is the key to the work of the National Cultural Commission and its cultural institutions.
Important to safeguard and ensure that there is a safe place to keep these materials for now and into the future. Preservation, storage of important documents is very, very important.
This week, the Commission will start moving the documents into the new facility. Lilian Sopera Kenea, National EMTV News.
The National Court this week will make a ruling on whether or not to restrict the Internal Revenue Commission or IRC from paying 15% monthly goods and services tax or GST to the Central Provincial Government, the Gulf Provincial Government and the Motu Koita Assembly. The National Capital District Commission took the matter to court again after IRC ceased paying NCDC the full 60% GST last month. An urgent application was heard on Friday. IRC may direct 10% of GST payments to the Central Provincial Government Trust account and 3% GST to the Gulf Provincial Trust account. This comes after the Supreme Court last month upheld a National Court decision directing IRC to follow the law and make these payments. NCDC, however, through their lawyer, say the 60% funds have already been budgeted for, and cutting out 15% will greatly affect essential services in Port Mosby, such as the running of the COVID-19 centers and law and order, among others. They argued that IRC should not remove the 15% from NCDC's 60%, but from the national government's trust account. The man who killed his 2 children at Port Mosby's Morata suburb is now undergoing mental evaluation. He has been in custody since the death of his 2 children. According to the NCD Metropolitan Superintendent Commander Gideon Ikumu, police will lay charges based on the medical report. He said the psychiatric evaluation will take 3 days. The doctor will examine the suspect on day 1, the wife on day 2, and both on day 3.
At the time of the incident, we don't know the state in mind of the person that committed the double murder. And it is essential that we get a medical examination on that person before police proceed to charge him on murder. Why? Because if we don't, and it goes to court, it will raise the defense of insanity. What does police have to prove that he was of stable mind when he did that? That's why we were calling for that report, and we made arrangement with medical officers at 3 Mile. For a week, we wrote to them, waited, they turned up, met with us, but never underwent that process. But now, as the time goes on, the person could have recovered, or it will be very hard to ascertain whether at that time he committed, he was of stable mind. So that is something that we will leave to the court.
Trukai Sports is next. Details after the break.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. The far-reaching effect of COVID-19 in PNG has made its impact felt on PNG's sporting landscape, with competitions being delayed and cancelled while venues have been closed to the public. With the recent positive results for the COVID-19 virus taken from 2 players from a Digital Cup franchise team, competition authorities have made the cautious decision to delay the start of the 2021 season. This action takes into account the health and safety of its players, while also allowing ample time for the competition to resume.
Current COVID-19 restrictions has affected all aspects of life in the country, from the social and economic impacts felt by ordinary Papua New Guineans. Sporting codes and their competitions are no exception, with the recent cancellation of the Women's National Soccer League semi-finals and grand final matches, followed by the 3-week delay to the 2021 Digital Cup competition announced late last week. With the health and safety of sportsmen and women being the top priority, national sporting competition such as the NSL and Digital Cup have protocols in place to deal with any potential cases of COVID-19 amongst its competitors. Many local and town competitions that form the majority of sporting bodies in the country have also faced their challenges, with the closure of certain venues and the restrictions set in place relating to large gatherings. In the case of Rugby League, PNG NRLC Chairman Adrian Chow stated that it is a reminder that viruses don't discriminate and that sports authorities will do everything they can to keep the competitors safe. Rugby League authorities will be working closely with the National Pandemic Control Center and the PNG Sports Foundation Pandemic Committee to oversee the management of the situation and to ensure that the Digital Cup competition can resume as soon as possible. Haksi Lovai, Trukai Sports.
The weather forecast for the next 24 hours. When we come back, stay tuned for the details.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by Moniplus, with you always.
Weather forecast for this afternoon and tonight. In the southern region, Port Mosby, partly cloudy with possible shower or two. Daru, some rain showers at times. Alatau, mostly fine, though partly cloudy. Kerema, a few showers and partly cloudy with evening showers in Popondetta. In the Momasa region, Lay, a few showers and partly cloudy. Wewak, cloudy with evening thundery showers. Medang, chances of showers and possible thunderstorms. And Vanimo, cloudy with occasional rain showers. In the New Guinea Islands, Lorengau, few showers and possible thunder. Kavieng, rain showers at times. Kokopo and Rabaul, cloudy periods with evening showers. Buka, cloudy periods with evening showers. And in Kimbe, rain showers and possible thunderstorms. And finally, in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, partly cloudy with a few showers. Gorka and Kundiawa, light evening drizzles. Mendi and Wabag, cloudy periods with late evening rain drizzles.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
And that's been the news, sports and weather for today, Sunday, the 9th of May, 2021. From all of us here at EMTV, have a safe working week. Pleasant viewing. Bye for now.